AVR, today's best country.
There's a roundabout being built in the village of New Minas. I want to know how to drive on it, so I called this guy. His name is Keith Boddy. He's the senior highway design engineer for the province of Nova Scotia. When is this roundabout in New Minas going to be open?
The roundabout should be open in the next couple of weeks. What we're waiting for is to finish up all the paving operations and line painting and signage. As things wrap up, we'll be easing the roundabout into full operation.
Why a roundabout and not another set of lights in downtown New Minas?
There's a number of advantages with roundabouts, and people may be wondering, just what we're thinking out there. The Micmac Rotary and the Armdale Rotary didn't work for years. Why would we be doing this? Safety is the number one thing. We've spent 8 years studying roundabouts here in Nova Scotia. The safety advantages are unparalleled. Around the world, you're seeing significant reductions in overall collisions, as well as very improved operations from a fatal collision standpoint. There's a less likelihood of injury, less likelihood of serious injury and serious collisions. What we look at is the circular nature of the intersection that forces people to drive slower. As they drive slower, the collisions get far less serious. The exposure to risk is one of the things we talk about, and for fear of sounding like an insurance adjuster, the exposure to risk is much reduced when compared to a traditional intersection. If you consider sort of a cross intersection, there's a number of chances that people are going to get T-boned or into a head-on collision, which are very, very serious. You could see loss of life in those types of collisions. In a roundabout, that type of incident doesn't really occur. So that's where you're seeing huge advantages.
I grew up in Dartmouth, and I actually had to drive on the Micmac Rotary.
Right.
The traffic there was one-on-one traffic is what we called it. So one car would go, then you would pull in off the side, then the next car would go. That's not how this rotary is going to work. How is this rotary going to work in downtown New Minas?
The old school rotaries were designed back in the early 50s. There was a mentality then called a merge condition, and the merge condition meant that people in the circle were traveling at speed, so 60, 70, 80 kilometers an hour, and people approaching would merge at that same speed. So you would have a one-on-one approach, as you called it. Today, the modern roundabout approach shows that the yield on entry condition is the better operation. So what we've done is we've rewritten the laws to enforce that. So people are obligated to slow down, take a safe gap, yield to the people in the circle, and then enter into the circle and travel around. So what that does is it keeps the people in the circle moving. The old traditional rotaries, as you remember, you would stop quite a few times in that circle. Oftentimes it wouldn't move at all. Nowadays, with the new modern operation, people are flowing around the center island. There's very little stop and start. And once you're in there, you're in and out in a few seconds and you're off to your destination.
What if you got a nervous driver in there, or you're the nervous driver and you're going around and around and around this roundabout? What's everybody else supposed to do with you while you're in there?
We're hoping that people won't spend all day driving around like Chevy Chase did in his famous movie. If somebody has to take a couple of trips around to find their destination, so be it. As you approach that circle, if somebody's in there driving, you yield to them. Once they're past you, you can pull in behind when there's a safe gap. You proceed to your destination. You can leave them there driving around, and hopefully that doesn't happen, and hopefully people get used to it, and I'm fairly comfortable they will. And
especially if you haven't got experience driving in a roundabout, doing it at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, not the ideal time.
Probably not the best time to do it the first time. Really, what it boils down to, it's a yield sign. It's a one-way circulating roadway around the center island. Sounds like a lot of technical mumbo-jumbo. When you're on the ground, really, it's a fairly straightforward process, but we recommend that people might want to take their opportunity when it's less busy, go out and get familiar with the signage and the lines and where they want to go and how they want to get there. And that way, when the time comes, when it's busy, they're not having to make all those decisions and see all those things for the first time.
If I want more information on this, Keith, where can I go?
gov.ns.ca/TRAN/roundabout. That has a lot of written information, a few brochures. We've produced a single-page information sheet that's going to appear in the local papers down there that gives people an idea of why we're doing this and how to get around the roundabout, give you a chance to study up before you get out on the roads, but it's also available on that website.
That was Keith Boddy. He's the senior highway design engineer for the province of Nova Scotia, talking about the new roundabout that is going in New Minas.
AVR, today's best country.